Okay, so today we will start the session with first exploring the problems you had faced while coming up with this pattern, and what exactly you mentioned, Lisa, first that it's darkening or something, right? That is what you said.
Yeah, when I copied it to the other file, it darkened.
Uh, so
I think it's the it's the filter I put on it, I think.
I can see two folders here. One is basic unit copy and another is basic unit, and they are not identical in nature. Wait, so this is the group basic unit copy, and this is log.
But see how
Let
it,
me have a
yeah,
log.
and then I darken, and then it's darkened, but it's not as dark as the copy that got
Okay,
copied in the other one.
so uh, help me understand. You have this on layer one. Okay, this thing here. Let me switch off the basic unit first, and then let's have a look at this. So you have curves adjustment here. Okay.
Yeah, so like I made that little, like I was looking like a toy to me.
Mm-hmm.
So with like little dials,
Mm-hmm.
and then I put that little half moon thing up on the top, which
Okay.
is like a thumb imprint, like a place to put your thumb or to hold it or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
And
tell me
so maybe
something.
those things are
You
what
have
made it darker.
done so many things on one single layer, on this layer one. Uh, did you want it like this, or this is an accident that this particular shape got overlapped by this one?
Mm,
Was it
I mean, I put
deliberately
them
done?
where I want. I put them where I wanted to put them.
But you have done all of it in one single layer. What if I want you to change the color of or just push it here, or maybe use this somewhere else in the
I mean,
pattern?
I definitely didn't do things properly, but I yeah.
Okay, and then you have
Like,
applied.
my whole thing was just like playing around with everything again
Mhm. uh,
and practicing using the selection tool. So I definitely did not. I could have
so Lisa, what I want to hear from you is that yes, definitely playing around is fine, but at any point have you felt that you are lost, like you were in control of everything, right? You with whatever layer you have created, you created it for a purpose, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I just yeah. I was just I literally I was just playing with it and trying to learn the selection tool and
Okay.
moving things around, and that's what happened. But I get that it would be better if I went to creating another piece. It would have been
Mm-hmm.
better if I went to another layer
Okay.
so that I could adjust it better.
Correct. Just for example,
So,
layer 2 you have created this shape, separately, uh, so
yeah.
you could move it
I mean, I
anywhere you
guess
want.
like what what happened is as I started working further, I realized that I needed to create more layers.
Okay.
And then some things weren't created on the layers and I
So
just worked with it.
this basic unit is fine, but you are saying that this is a pattern you have defined, right? But even if I this is pattern start, and if I switch on this layer, mm, let me just switch all of it on the background. So this layer where it says pattern start, it's nothing, right? There is nothing in it. If I switch it off, it makes no difference. So let me just get rid of this layer since it has nothing in it.
I think what I did was I realized that I couldn't make the copy of it.
Uh-huh.
And so I went into the other, I was like, oh, I have too much information on here. I need to go to a different file. So I moved one of those, I copied one of those layers over to the next
Okay.
picture,
Now,
the bigger
all
pattern.
right. See, the basic unit copy is here, right? The whole folder is selected. I can move this wherever I want, no problem. What
Mhm.
you had asked that if you make a copy, let me just hide it for a while, and the moment I switch it on, this gets darker, right? This is the problem, right?
It's okay. These are looking fine. These ones are looking fine, but it's when you look in the pattern, they're really dark.
No, no, no. See, understand why they are dark. This is looking fine. The moment you made a copy of it and started moving things around, you realize that this became darker, right? That is what happened.
Mhm.
So if I switch
Yes.
it on, this becomes darker. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, that becomes darker,
Yeah.
but
And
but when I copied it, it became even darker than that.
yeah, if you make it another copy of it, if I say Control J on the keyboard, you will realize it became more dark.
Yeah, now it's super dark. Yeah.
Yeah, right? So, any idea why is it happening?
That's what I was asking you. I don't know.
Yeah, so first you make a blind guess, then I'll tell you. Look at the layer
That it's
structure and make a guess.
my my blind guess is that they're layered on top of each other and they're transparent.
No, because all the layers are at full opacity. There is nothing transparent here. So the
Yeah, that
layer,
was my
yeah, so let me do the same thing which you did, right? I'm gonna just switch, delete this one, basic unit copy, and I'll follow what you have done. You must have done. So I'll select this and tell me if I am going wrong. So if I say Control J, I'll have a basic unit copy, and
hmm
after I have the copy, I just pull it here. This is what you did, right? And then you expanded it and you started selecting individual components and started moving them around, right? This was
I
something,
think
or
so.
maybe you have made some copies of it, right? This is what you have done.
I think so. Yeah,
Okay, and then you realize that it became darker, right?
I think
So
so.
let's have a look at the layer structure and then see what are we copying. We are copying a bunch of layers, and out of all those layers, one layer in particular is the culprit here, the curves one layer, because this is an adjustment layer, right? So the way adjustment layer works is it is going to affect all the layer beneath it in the stacking order. Okay, so this
hmm
curves layer is affecting these two layers. Okay, I'll show you.
Okay.
If I double click on this icon here, it is going to open up the curve adjustment panel here, right? So
hmm
what I'm doing here is adjusting this particular layer on basic unit folder, and if I pull things up and down, you will see it's affecting this part. Okay, let me just switch off the top folder first, and notice curves 1, and we have layer 5 and layer 1, layer 5 and layer 1. So layer 5 has this bevel and emboss thing here, on which we have applied bevel and emboss and inner glow, and then we have layer 1 where you have most of the content of this layer, right? So the curves 1 is not only just going to affect the layer 5 but also layer 1, because these are all beneath curves 1 layer. This is how adjustment layer works, and you can see the difference. Okay, now what happened when you made a copy of all of it? The curve 1 layer also got copied, right? and here is that curve one layer, and it's making a difference in all the layers beneath it, no matter whether they are kept in a separate folder also. Okay, so to fix this, I just have to come here and switch off this curve one layer, and things will be back to what we want. Now you will say it again got darker. Now this darkening is happening because we have changed this curved one layer, and you can see the curved one layer is changed. Okay, so let me quickly go back in time by saying Control Z till the time we are back to the original thing, right? So curves one, and this is the adjustment we made, you have made. I'll just switch off this curves one layer after switching on this basic unit copy, and you will see both are almost matching. I think you have done some adjustment here also. Let's just hit delete, make a copy of this one again, and switch off this curves one, and then you make a copy. Oh, so that's one thing. Yeah, that's one thing, and another thing is happening because this layer is half, half of it because of curves. Yeah, yeah, okay, yes, 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 yes. It's interesting actually, Lisa. Just bear with me for the time, and this is really good, you know, problem to look at. uh, Now this curve one layer is affecting all of it, right? And if I switch it off, all this particular layer, the layer 5 and layer 1, which is here, is losing the curves adjustment, and that is why it is looking lighter. So if I switch off the curves one in both the groups, then they will look identical. That is one way to go ahead with it. Okay, case 1, where you don't do curves adjustments by adjustment layers. Now if I want to do it, right, if I really want to do it, so the right way to do it is get rid of this first, switch on the curves adjustment, and now you have to make a group by selecting these two, make a group, and clip this curve one with this group. Look at this sign here. So what I did, I can also clip adjustment layers with the layers or groups. So now this is only going to affect this. Now if I make a copy, Control J, and pull this, they should look identical, right?
Okay.
So this curves one is only affecting this particular group, and this curves one is only affecting this particular group. And since they are in separate places, they are not interacting with anything else. And because they are clipped within their group to the layers which are beneath those adjustment layers and are in a group, so they are not affecting anything else. They are just focusing on their clipped groups. And you can learn which group has any adjustment layer or layer clipped to it by looking at their name. It will be underlined. So check all the layers and you will find that only group 1 in both the folders are underlined. And also look at the adjustment layer where the down pointing arrow is going to be there on the left hand side, the small tiny down pointing arrow here also. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so this was the problem, and now we have fixed it. So next time something like this happens, you'll have absolute control over the problem.
Okay.
Okay, all right. I'm going to close this file. I'm gonna save this in this way only, and maybe I'll just send this file quickly to you, back to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can have a look.
My homework is to fix mine. One of my homeworks.
Not actually fixing. The thing is, it could have
Adjusting.
yeah, it could have happened to me also. This is how you learn. If I would have just said that there may be some issue, right? You figure it out. It is really something which is difficult to figure out on its own. So what was the name of the file? Selection tool practice. And this one, yeah. So I'm sending it back to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So pattern you did very nice. I checked the pattern also here. You applied it correctly, and it is scaling also beautifully. There is no seam. I can't recognize the seam. So the creation of pattern was good. Okay, nothing to do there. Did you also try changing the blend mods? No.
I don't think I played with that. I think I was done at this point.
Okay, no problem. So I'll quickly just
I
tell
was
you two ways how we
went
can.
back into Christmas mode.
Okay, no problem. So two things we have here on which we have control. One, the color of that layer, right? So layer one has a color, right? We can change that color to any color we want. But since our pattern has white background in it already, any color there will not affect, the result, right? So what we can do, we can change the color and then change the blend mod from here. So we can try out different blend mods, like multiply treats white as transparent, and since we have this background also set as white color, so the effects applied on the pattern overlay through the layer styles is only going to affect the layer on which it is applied. I'll repeat. So the effects, right? These are the effects. The effects applied on any layer by pattern overlay is only going to be limited to that layer. Okay, so like, see, there are two ways, two places where we can change blend mods. One is from the layer styles, from the pattern overlay. Another is from here. So if I change it to multiply, seems as if nothing happened, but I can go for a different blend mod also, and let's try out all the different blend mods, but you will see that nothing is happening here. There is no change, right? Because it has a pattern applied to it, and this blend mod is not going to affect it, how this layer blends with the layers beneath it. So it will be more clear if I pull up something else, and then we will let me just pull up some image. Okay, I don't know where is this image coming from, but now what I did, I placed an image in this. Let me switch it off. This is the image I have. Okay, now if I go here and change the blend mod to multiply or to whichever blend mod I go for, it's not making any difference, right? Okay, why? Because in this case the pattern overlay effect is taking precedence, and the pattern needs to be blended with the layer first. Okay, so now if I go to pattern overlay and blend it with multiply, you will see it's only interacting with the layer on which it is applied, not the layer beneath it. And now if I go here and change blend mod multiply or any other blend mod, you will see that this layer will start interacting with the layer beneath it. Okay, so concept wise this is very important. It's a little technical, but you should keep an eye on it. So if you come across a situation where a layer is not blending with the layer beneath it, despite you are changing the pattern, changing the blend mods, the chances are that you are dealing with a pattern overlay effect applied on it, and you haven't looked at the pattern overlays blend mod in the first place. Okay, here also you have a lot of options. You can try out those options. See, sometimes really nice results come up. Yeah, for example, look at this one.
Beautiful. Looks like
Yeah,
skulls.
yeah, looks like skulls, but very funny one, and like I don't know, uh,
Like happy and scary ones.
happy and scary. Yes, correct. Yeah, and now look at this one. This one is also nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you should always try with blend mods. Those can give you really surprising results. Yeah, there is no other way for word for it. Yeah, so now I'll just cancel this one and close the file. I think we have covered the patterns very thoroughly. Now you can create a four-way repeat. You understand the nuances of applying a pattern also, and basically you have full control how to create the pattern and apply it on a flat surface. Right now, that's the catch. What if I want to apply it on a, let's say that this pattern you have created, I want to apply it on a bed sheet. So in that case, what do I do? How do I
On a what
load
kind
this
of
pattern? A bed sheet or a garment, for
oh,
example.
bed sheet. Okay,
Yeah,
bed sheet.
yeah, that will be interesting. Huh? Or let's say in a garment, I want to apply that pattern, right? So how do we do that? Uh, Today we will try that. Uh, we will be doing it on a garment, a skirt, maybe a white skirt, but you can uh, try it out with different surfaces of your choice. Uh, I already have an example with me which I give a demonstration to some students. Let me just close this file first and I'll open up that one. Look at this file here. Everything is created from scratch except the uh, bed that we have imported, and the pattern you see on the bed sheet is actually changed. So one by one I'll just uh, we will do this kind of composition in the next class, right? uh, but I'll show you what I have done here. I'm just pulling off things layer by layer, and you will realize that the bed is gone, the shadow of the bed is gone, and the floor is gone, and everything is created from scratch. Okay, so the way this pattern is applied on the bed sheet, and yeah, it's not so great, right, for the result basically, but solves the purpose, right? Even essentially, if you really want a realistic image, then you should go for 3D rendering. You should model this entire thing and then uh, define the material and do the rendering. But as long as uh, you want things to be faster for you, and just quickly want to understand how this is going to look, right, then this method is also fine. The best thing is that you have control over the size of the pattern, the scale of the pattern. See, I can change the scale, right?
Yes.
I can change the angle of it. So quickly I'm able to visualize how it is going to look in a scenario. And I can also probably go crazy with blend mods and then try out something really different. Okay, for example, this one. See,
Nice.
right? All right, so I'm just gonna go back to the normal and say okay, this is what we are trying to do next. Now since we had opened this file, first thing first, I want to check if this pattern is available to me. You sent me this file, right?
Yes.
But if I have that pattern with me or not. So I'm gonna open up a new file and create a new layer on top, fill it with any solid color, and then go to the effects menu and then choose pattern overlay, And see, this is the pattern which I had created, so I have it on in the library. Let me find out if the pattern you created is available with me or not, and I can't see that pattern here, right?
Mm-mm.
I don't have that pattern available here. So what that tells me, that the pattern travels with the file, but I could save that pattern also, right? So I'm gonna open up the file you sent me, and if I double click on the pattern overlay, I can see that this pattern is available to me here, right? This is there, right? But it's not
Yes.
in my library. Okay, it's not in my library. So how do I save this? So I'm gonna click here on this gear icon here, the tiny gear icon, and then choose new pattern, and then this dialog box is gonna pop up, which will show the thumbnail of the pattern, and I'm going to save it as Lisa. Okay, since you created it, and I'm gonna say okay, and then say okay once again. Now after I saved it, I'll have to save this file also once by saying Control S. It's not necessary, but I do it anyway. And then I'm gonna close it and start a new file, and this time I should be able to access that pattern I had saved from your file into my system. If I go to pattern overlay, see, by default it will pick up the last pattern, and now it's available to me also in the library. And if I hover on top of it, it should say Lisa. Yes. Okay, so one exercise can be given to the students. Create a library of patterns inspired by a particular theme, and they can share you the files. You can also export the files, by the way. If you click on this gear icon, and then you have option of export selected pattern, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select the pattern I had created, and I'm going to export it so that you can try it out. Okay, so I'm going to export selected pattern, and the extension for the selected patterns is pat file. Now this is a bit advanced, Lisa, forgive me for that, but I just wanted to get over everything is there to learn about patterns. There are more things to it, but this is pretty much will enable us to transfer patterns between one computer to different computers, right? So I thought I'll just give it 5 minutes. So now I can type in, let's say this is my pattern, so I'll call it Rajiv floral, and 4-way repeat, 4-way seamless. Okay, students can also create libraries of patterns, and they can literally sell the patterns if they want. Now by default it will point at the folder which is there in the Adobe's directory under presets, under patterns, but since I intend to send it to you, I'm just gonna go to the desktop, which is more accessible for me, and then save and say okay. Now if I go to the desktop, I should be able to find that pattern, Rajiv floral seamless, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to send this to you. So reply, attach file, desktop, and I'm sending you the PAT file. Now to install this in your system, a very simple way is to go to the pattern overlay, just open with any start with any layer and double click on the pattern overlay. Basically you will have to be inside the layer styles panel, and from there you have to choose pattern overlay, and then click on this icon, and then reach to this gear icon, and there you have option of import patterns, right? You click on import patterns and then point it at the file. It will only accept .pat file. Okay, You just have to select that and say load, and it's gonna load it in the library. So the pattern I sent you, load it in your library and check. Okay, not right away, later on, whenever you can. All right.
Right.
Any questions, Lisa? Anything coming
No.
to your mind? No? All good. So I'm just gonna quickly close this file, and now I'm going to go to the Google and then try to find out something on which we can apply our pattern, right? So I'll be picking out something simple, but you can uh, pick something more complex. So let me go to Google Images and we will look for white skirt. Now this works with white colored fabric best because uh, the values are very clear in a white color garment. Okay, uh, let's say this one. Oh, this has pleats. I don't want to ruin the pleats with the patterns, it will look horrible. Let me find. I have a little sense of fashion. I am a fashion graduate, so I'm not gonna do that. I may be horrible with colors, but no, finish and fit. I love it. You'll be surprised, Lisa. My specialization is women's wear couture. So
Really?
yes, yes. Someday I'll share my collection also with you.
Okay.
It's
Do
very
you make the do you just you you adjust it in Photoshop? You're not making the physical garments.
Oh no, no, it is different in India, and at least in NIFT, we had to stitch every piece of it, every piece.
Oh,
Yes,
so you studied as a fashion designer first.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, this is what you're telling me. Okay, now
Yeah,
I
yeah,
understand. Yeah, I completely understand what you had to do then
yeah.
because
So,
yeah.
essentially, we had
And
to, first.
I visited that department a lot
Hmm.
at UID. I was friends with Marius and I went to go visit that department quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah. So with this nowadays people are very lenient, I must say, because in our times we had to do everything by our own self, right? Right from the ideation to cutting the pattern to stitching the pattern to sourcing and sometimes even embroidery. The surface development was also, our thing. Like we cannot get it done from outside. Otherwise they'll fail, simply fail. That's
Oh,
it.
now they can do it from outside?
Yeah, now they can do it from outside.
I, hmm, that's
But
not then
fun,
it's
fun,
not
fun, really
exactly.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I love my my undergraduate. I started in fashion illustration.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I,
So
I, I,
I went to the Fashion Institute of Technology.
mm,
You probably have heard of FIT.
yes, yes.
And then I went into toys.
Nice. So, let's say, yeah, this is more like what we are looking for. So we'll go with this. Uh, Now I'm not bothered much about the quality, so I'm just gonna right click and then copy the image, paste it in Photoshop in A4 size sheet. Oh, it's really tiny, but for our purpose, let's let go about the quality.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's fine.
yeah, it's fine. Now, see, the steps may vary. This is what I follow, and it has worked for me quite well. There are many different ways. There is something called displacement map also, but that I'll cover in the you could say advanced sessions, not for now. That will basically help us wrap the pattern along the contour of the fabric based on the values. So a little advanced, maybe someday else, right? You to let me know if this is okay for you. or if you are interested in exploring more advanced things, then
You,
I'll
you can
take
just
that
learn
also.
it, and
Yeah.
who know who knows who knows where I will use these things.
Yeah. So now we can try out the object selection once. I'm just hovering on top of it. Okay, so Photoshop says that it has some problem. Let me say don't send and open it again. Hmm, what went wrong? Uh, yeah, we are back. So quickly open up A4 size. Still it's there in the clipboard. Increase the size. All right. So we'll try out this object selection once. I'm just gonna hover on top of it and then see if it picks out the skirt or not. No, this is what I thought, because the color is so not contrasting. It's difficult to find out edges with the object selection. uh, so what we will do, we can try quick selection. That may work. Yeah, in this case it worked perfect, right?
Quick selection. It was just in that. Okay, same file.
Yeah, but
Because I got stuck with that with my cylinder too. It didn't want to.
okay, if these two doesn't work out, then the best thing is to go with pen tool. It's time consuming but gives you the perfect selection. Really
Yeah.
perfect selection. Okay, but for now I'll just stick to this one. And we have an active selection. I just am gonna make a copy of this by saying Control J on the keyboard. So what essentially I did, let me hide the layer 1 here. I have isolated the skirt on a separate layer, and I see there are some problems here and there, but I'll just ignore that for the time, for the sake of this. Or maybe since we are here and I can see it, why not fix it? So I'm gonna switch to pen tool and quickly make a selection around it, and right click, make selection, feather radius 1, and delete. Sorry, oh, it created a shape layer. So let's delete the shape layer first and use the selections to get rid of the content from layer 2. Now it will seem as if nothing happened, but actually we have successfully managed to remove that part from layer 2, right? And if we would have selected it from the pen tool, these edges would be much nicer. However, we can fix that by applying a mask on it. So I'm gonna control and then click on this thumbnail to select the content of that layer and apply a mask on it. And then I'm going to, or maybe another thing we can do is, after this is selected, we can go to select, modify, contract, and contract it by about 5 pixels. So now if I zoom in, you will notice the selection moved 5 pixels inside, right? And now I'm going to apply the mask. Okay.
What does mask do again?
Mask hides the content outside the selection. So I wanted to hide that extra part and make it smoother basically, right? So since I
Okay.
have the mask loaded here, I can blur the mask a little bit to get rid of these jagged edges. I can apply different filters to it also. So let me just try out. I just want these edges to be softened a little bit and not look jagged. So I'll try out a few things. I'm gonna go to the filter, go to the blur, and first try is to apply some Gaussian blur on it, and then blur it to the level where it is very soft, right? But I'm feeling a little experimental today, so I'm gonna go to filters and then choose the okay, the oil paint filter is not applicable on the mask. Fine, no problem. We'll just go with a blur, choose Gaussian blur and blur it about 2.5 pixels and alt click on it. So these jagged edges looks much softer now. And anyway, I am softening it because I'll tell you why I'm softening it once I'm done with it. So let us get back our layer 1. Seems as if nothing happened, but we have successfully isolated the skirt on a separate layer and also dealt with the edges which were looking jaggy with applying a masking and then putting some gradient Gaussian blur on it. Now it's very simple, right? We just have to double click on this and choose pattern overlay. So either I can do it from here or I can go to the FX menu and choose pattern overlay. And from the pattern overlay, we can pick out the pattern which we had created. I can't find your pattern in this, maybe because the Photoshop collapsed, right? So it couldn't save your pattern the last time. Let me quickly save this file first on my computer. Where is your folder? I have a folder by your name. Projects, yeah. And, on pattern on skirt. So let me just quickly okay, it forgot about your file also. No problem, let me just open this one and I'll go to the file, open recent. Wow, it completely forgot about your pattern. So I'm gonna go open, look for it in the downloads folder and then open it from there. Now since it is open, I think it will allow me to apply the pattern overlay. No. So let me just quickly double click here, go save this new pattern and say okay. All right, okay, and come here, double click on it, go to pattern overlay and apply that, and then I'm gonna scale
like
this. Yeah,
the boldest one is best.
Okay. Yeah, and we can try out different blend mods later on, but see, just by changing the blend mod, you see that, you know, the feel, because the blend mod is actually playing up with the values behind it. So wherever there is dark, it is becoming lighter, and wherever there is you know, bright part, it's getting darker. So anyway, so right now I'll just want to get rid of the white, so I'm gonna choose multiply as the blend mod, and we can see just by switching to the multiply, the you know, these areas are looking as if, you know, it's away from us, and this is more on the lighter part. So you could feel that you know, a sense of depth and pattern being a little depressed on those areas where the shadow is falling, but the pattern is not draping along with the fabric, right? So there are ways how we can achieve that, but for now let's say okay. And to add more values on it, I'm gonna make another copy of this layer 2 here by saying Control J and remove the pattern overlay from here. Just pull it and then drop it on the trash can. Seems as if we are back to nowhere. This is where we started from, and this is exactly where we are. But if you look at the layer configuration, then you will realize we are sandwiching the pattern overlay between the original layer on which the whole image is and a layer on which we have just the skirt. And I can move this and then show you that this is how it is, right? So the white skirt isolated on top in between the layer where we have the pattern, and below that we have the original image. So things are in three
Skirt,
separate
you have a
layers.
skirt sandwich.
Yeah, skirt sandwich, yes, correct. So I'm gonna say Control Z. Now the top layer, because I wanted to add more values, what I can do here is quickly adjust the curves for this layer. So I can bring in the curves adjustments and pull this down a little bit. Okay, but as I do so, I realize that I'm, you know, making the changes in the whole picture, right? And I don't want to do that. And this is the mistake which we had just learnt about from the previous lesson, right? So all I have to do is hold Alt and then click in between these two layers to clip this adjustment with just this layer. And now it's only going to affect the layer, right? The skirt. So I want to create a contrast. So I'm gonna pull from the center downwards, which pulls the midtones and the dark areas below and makes it darker. And I'm gonna go up on the highlights and then push it up a little. Okay, so creating an S curved sort of thing. All right, and now I'm going to select this particular layer and then change the blend mode from normal to multiply. So the white will be treated as transparent and the grayscale values will remain with it, and it will give us more feeling of the drape, right? You can feel that.
Yes.
If I switch off this layer, you will see the difference. This is how it looks without this layer, and this is how it looks with that particular layer. Okay.
Yes.
All right, now we can go more in depth and then experiment more with it. See, look at this outline coming here. That looks weird, right? So I can just get rid of this mask from here. Let me just quickly check by holding Shift and clicking on it. Yeah, I got rid of some of it. I can do the same here also. Hold Shift and click on this to completely get rid of it, right? So I think this looks fine. Even with the jagged edges, it is fine. But we would have used pen tool for a more refined selection for sure. In this case, we don't want the masks, but in some cases you may need it. So it is a good idea to create a mask around it, and then, you know, just let it be there just in case if you need it. If you don't need it, you can switch it off anytime and then check. In this case, we don't need it. All right, now okay, to add to the realism, few more things we can do. We can add another layer on top of it and activate this selection by holding Control and clicking on this layer thumbnail. And now that's the time to analyze the lighting a little bit. And I see there is some problem with it, right? The light is hitting from this side. So this side should be more bright and this side should be darker, which it is right now, right? Because we are using the values from the skirt only, but it should be more brighter, right? So what we can do is we can change the blend mode to overlay on the top layer and use the brush. Let's select a soft brush, reduce the hardness all the way to the 0 and make sure that it is fairly big in size. And let's try painting with white color. Oh, sorry. So I'm gonna click on this and see, as I paint with white, this becomes more lighter, right? But the thing is, as I do so, I also lose the, you know, that information, right? So let's try adjusting the curves layer, but it is affecting the entire skirt, right? This is what we don't want. How do we deal with this? Normal. Wait a second. Let me just delete this. All right. So I can make probably a copy of this one, Control J, and then put a mask on it and use the brush and remove this remove this part, no sorry this part, to make it more white. Yeah, so this is working for us. So these are few hacks which can be used to create a quick simulation. Now here, I think the belt should not have the pattern on it, or maybe some sort of depression should be created here to create that effect. Those things can be done. That's not a problem. We can select the belt separately and apply the same thing which we did with the skirt in a different folder, and change the orientation of the pattern, because it will be two different pieces of fabric and the mitering is not going to happen so perfect, right? And that is why it is not looking natural. So you got it, Lisa, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
just
So
it's a separate cut fabric.
yep. So slight mismatch needs to be there. So in this case, let me just completely get rid of the belt only. So I'm gonna create a selection around it and right click, make selection. Okay, and use this to delete the content from this layer, and this layer, and say Control D. It's looking weird though, but I don't know. Anyway, now the last thing I'm gonna do is uh, try to just liquidify the pattern a little bit and uh, create an illusion as if it is wrapping around the contour of the fabric. So in order to do that, I'll have to access the layer on which the pattern overlay is applied, right? And then convert that into a smart object. That is important, very important, because then only it is going to affect the pattern overlay. If I just go without converting it into a smart object, it will not work. So I'm going to right click on it and then choose convert to smart object. The pattern overlay is still there, but it is inside the smart object. Here we can go to the filter menu and then choose liquidify. And now I can use this brush. There are many other brushes also. I would encourage you to try out all these things. They are basically different mods in which you can wrap the things, or play, basically interact with the patterns, or the layer content. So I'm just gonna see, this is what it does. So I'm just gonna pull it down just a little bit so that it appears as if there is some deformity along the lines where the pattern is bending, and there is little mismatch.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, just a little bit, not much. Okay, all right. And then I'm gonna say okay, see, and this is applied as a smart filter. Let me just switch off the liquidify and then observe the difference. It's not much, but it is making a lot of difference in the appearance.
Yeah,
See,
more realistic.
This is without liquidify, and this is with liquidify. Hold for a while. Yeah, this is with liquidify. Very subtle changes, but makes a lot of difference, significant difference, right?
Yes.
Now another way of doing it, a little advanced, I'll just give it to you just in case. It's going on the recording anyway. Okay, so the thing is, we can also use a filter and a feature under the distort called displacement map. Displace is the filter, and it will require a displacement map. So before we apply it, we'll have to create it. So first thing I'm going to do is select the layer 2 copy on which the skirt is there, go to the layer menu, go to duplicate layer, and make a duplicate of this in a new document. Click on new, and let's just call it displace map. you can give it any name of your choice, but I'm gonna call it displace map because that is what I'm creating. So I'm gonna say okay. The skirt got copied, right? Do not move the skirt anywhere, let it be there, don't change the document size. All you have to do is press Ctrl M, or maybe instead of that press Ctrl L to bring the levels, and then just darken it as much as possible. Create contrast. Basically, the higher the contrast, the better it is gonna work. All right, I think we have sufficient amount of contrast in this, and also you'll have to desaturate it completely, so there should not be any color. Just turn it black and white. I can see some colors along the edges, so you can get rid of that by saying Control Shift U on the keyboard, which is the shortcut for desaturation. Control Shift U. And now I'm going to save this file as PSD. So Control S on my desktop, save on your desktop. I'm gonna just say save. That's it. Okay, and close this file. And that PSD file we will use as a displacement map. So now this layer I have already applied Liquidify. So I'm gonna quickly make another copy of it by saying Control J and pull this Liquidify filter and drag it on the trash can. Switch off this one. So I have this one fresh to be ready, used Liquidify displace filter on it. So I'm gonna go to the filter, go to the distort, go to the displace, and here it's gonna ask me to find that file. So it says stretch to fit and tile and everything is fine, but if I say okay, it's gonna ask me that displacement map. It says choose a displacement map, and I had created that map here in this PSD file. So I'm gonna select that and then choose open. Wait for a while and see the magic. And now you see how beautifully it is wrapping around the contour, right? Look at these areas. Yeah, but in this
Yeah.
case also look at these areas where some problems are there, and we can definitely fix it. That's not a problem, but not for today. uh, Now let's do a quick comparison between, and in that case, if you really want to fix those areas, you have another layer underlying, right? So you can switch on those, and in this case it worked really perfect. So I'm gonna hide the displace filter wala option first. This is how it looks with Liquidify.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks as if yes, there is something, like it is more confusing, right? You don't see, it's not so convincing, right? After you look at this,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is how you apply a pattern, and the best part about this is that you still have the control over the scale of the pattern, and that can be accessed because it's a smart object. All you have to do is go inside that PSB file, double click on the pattern overlay, and you can still play around with the scale of it. So I can decrease the scale, say okay, save this file here, go back to my composition, and you will see the scale got changed here also. In fact, the beauty is that you can double click on the pattern overlay and change a different pattern altogether. And since you have done the hard work already, save this. Yes, you have a different skirt now.
Nice.
Okay, so just imagine the applications of this. There are many options, many places here you can use it. All right, uh, that would be all from my side for the day, Lisa.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I should practice trying to do the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
So today we have just wrapped up everything which is there to learn about pattern in Photoshop. Not everything, there are more advanced stuff. So, but I think for now we are good to go ahead with. Okay.
I I may not get this all done by Friday,
Mm-hmm.
um, because yeah, what I'm doing is I'm just watching versus trying to take notes because it's too disruptive.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll get the file tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow I teach early in the morning and then drive 5 hours back to Traverse City.
Oh God.
So, yeah, that's my commute is 10 hours a week. Um, so on Friday when I meet with you,
Mm-hmm.
we could do something else, and then I'll have to practice on the weekend.
Yeah, that works for me.
Practice
Not
on
a
the weekend
problem.
and the week. So I just don't want you to. This is why I am a slacker because I'm driving all the time, and now I'm not driving. I'm teaching.
No problem. I also drive a lot actually. My workplace
Yeah.
is 1.5 hour from where I live, and I go in the morning, come back in the evening, daily.
Where are you living now?
I'm living in Bombay, Kharghar, Navi Mumbai, and I'm consulting at Pearl Academy and Easty.
Nabai Mumbai.
Yeah, so it's far. So, but
Yeah,
anyway,
so but you're in Navi
yes,
Mumbai, which is an hour
yeah.
outside of Mumbai. Yeah. I was just curious.